What's up and welcome everyone to a new video here on the channel, and today I'm going to talk to you about the top 10 cards that you should be crafting from Outlaws of Thunder Junction for standard constructed. Now these cards will be either rare or mythic rarity, so we're not going to be talking about uncommons or commons. So we have a lot of results from the recent Pro Tour that was standard, but also from like MTGO leagues, challenges, MTG Arena rank ladder, and all that stuff from the past 2 weeks, because it's been about a week or two since the set has been out. So let's get into it and let's get started. This video is brought to you by Ultimate Guard. Ultimate Guard provides you with premium protection for your trading cards, ranging from sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, binders, and more. Ultimate Guard has everything you need to keep your Magic cards safe, secure, and stylish. Support the channel and yourself by purchasing your Ultimate Guard products using the link in the description. Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the Lost Jitte, a 1-mana legendary artifact equipment from Big Score. Whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage, you put a charge counter on the Lost Jitte, and you remove a charge counter from the Lost Jitte. You can then choose one of three, which is untap a target land, target creature cannot block this turn, or put a 1/1 counter on the equipped creature, and the equip cost is 1. And the Lost Jitte is currently seeing play in these low to the ground, aggressive creature decks that care about having some artifacts. So Simic Cookies, my beloved deck, definitely plays 3 copies of the Lost Jitte, but you also have decks like Is It Pirates that really benefits from it, and Blue-White Artifacts, which is the creature version, not the control version. The card just represents a ton of value in decks that care about attacking. The charge counters can just put in the work either through like onboard combat tricks with the 1/1 counters. It can also be incredibly valuable at taking out blockers from your opponent. Like if I could make Shouldered incapable of blocking, or Preacher of the Schism incapable of blocking, and that allows me to like swing in with the whole team, that is incredible value. And the Jitte is also capable of accumulating more charge counters. Like you don't have to use your charge counter every turn. I could eventually build up like 3 or 4 counters and make my entire, make the opponent's entire board incapable of blocking to swing in for lethal, which is just incredibly powerful and super relevant in these like aggro decks. But the Jitte is also fantastic at helping you out, casting multiple cards a turn, or perhaps casting like a 3-drop when you only have 2 lands available, because the untap a land ability can be especially relevant for these aggro decks that might play like 22 lands, especially if you miss your land drop. So it's also really good at fixing that. And I am a really big fan of this card. At the moment, we are just seeing it show up in Is That Pirates on, I think, MTGO challenges and leagues, and we're seeing it show up on the ladder with cookies as well, especially when I play it. But I think we will definitely see a lot more of the Lost Jitte in the future, especially after rotation. But I think also once the people start cooking a little bit and looking at a little bit more like new cards on the set, and we're seeing that aggro still has a ton of value, I would not be surprised that the Jitte shows up a lot more than what we see right now. So I think it's a very safe craft if you enjoy creature decks low to the ground that also care about artifacts. Definitely would pick up a copy or 2, or maybe even 3 of the Lost Jitte. Coming in at number 9, we have Pest Control, a 2-mana sorcery from Big Score that says destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less, and has a cycling cost of 2 in the colors of white-black. Now this is mostly relevant for my Esper mid-range players out there, because most Esper decks at the moment are playing a copy, like 2 copies, maybe even 3 copies of Pest Control, because it is the current deck against Boros Convoke. Like it kind of just like destroys the deck, but it's also pretty relevant against mono red aggro decks and other token decks that you might find as well. So if you are in Esper mid-range, or you're in Orzhov mid-range, or whatever, you're in the colors white and black, grab yourself some copies of Pest Control and make your life a lot easier when you're queuing into the aggro players, most specifically Boros Convoke. And at number 8, we have Tinybones, the Pickpocket, 1-mana legendary creature skeleton rogue with Death Touch. And whenever Tinybones the Pickpocket deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. And Tinybones is currently seeing play in a ton of decks. I've seen it show up in 4-color Legends, which is like the Slogurg deck. I've seen it show up in Esper Legends, Esper Midrange, the Mirror Midrange, the mono black type of like skeleton decks, but also like the mono black midrange decks. Like basically any deck that's in black and has a ton of removal wants like a copy or 2 of Tinybones. Because Tinybones can literally just take over the game if not removed, because you can literally just start grabbing permanents out of your opponent's graveyard. But Tinybones also makes a fantastic blocker. Like the card has been super relevant there for me as well. So if you want to upgrade your black kind of like mid-range deck go grab yourself a copy or two of Tinybones to pickpocket. At number 7, we have a spree card, 3 steps ahead with a base cost of 1 blue. You can add an additional 2 to counter a target spell, additional 3 to create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature control, additional 2 to draw 2 cards and then discard a card. This card sees play in basically like every blue-white control deck. The mirror control deck is really good in like the blue-white and the Izzet type of like artifact control decks, because you can copy the Simulacrum Synthesizer, which is incredibly spicy. But I've also seen this see play in like mono blue tempo where they copy like Haughty Gens. So if you are a counterspell enjoyer and also a control enjoyer, grab yourself a few copies of 3 Steps Ahead and give yourself access to one of the best counterspells in the game. And coming in at number 6, we have the Caustic Bronco, a 2-mana 2/2 creature snake horse mount. And whenever Caustic Bronco attacks, you reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's mana value if Caustic Bronco isn't saddled. Otherwise, each opponent loses that much life, and it has a saddle cost of 3. And Caustic Bronco is seeing play in Golgari midrange. I've seen it in Esper midrange, but it kind of like is just such a card advantage house if you have a lot of removal like to combine it with, that you basically want to like have a few copies of this card in every like black type of like mid-range decks, is what I'm convinced of. But we cannot forget that this card has a whole combo around it, because we have the Outlaws of Bronco decks that are showing up, especially because of the Pro Tour. And this is basically a combo with Insatiable Avarice and Shadow of Mortality, where the Insatiable Avarice puts the Shadow of Mortality to the top of the deck, you saddle the Bronco, and you swing. And then upon attacking, you reveal the Shadow of Mortality, and your opponent loses 15 life. And that is the Snores combo, the Outlaws of Bronco combo. So if you like the idea of that, go grab yourself 4 copies of the Caustic Bronco. And if you're an Esper mid-range player, Golgari mid-range player, or just a player that plays black mid-range decks that cares about drawing a ton of cards, go grab yourself a copy or 2 of the Caustic Bronco. And at number 5, we have Rest in Peace, a 2-mana enchantment. And when Rest in Peace enters the battlefield, you exile all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. And this is basically like the best graveyard hate that we have in Standard. So if you are playing white in any way, shape, or form, and you don't care about the graveyard, put 2 copies, maybe even 3 in your sideboard. You will have a much better matchup against the Aftermath Analyst decks. I think the card is great against like the 4-color Legends decks with like the Slogurk strategy. You could completely shut down like the blue-white Mentor decks with their reanimating stuff. Any other like type of reanimator deck it's really good against. Basically, any deck that cares about having the graveyard active, you will shut down with the Rest in Peace. And yeah, just go grab yourself a few copies of the best graveyard hate in Standard. At number 4, I have a Duelist of the Mind, a 2-mana creature human advisor with flying and vigilance. Duelist of the Mind's power is equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. Whenever you commit a crime, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. And I have this card at number 4 because Esper midrange is probably the absolute best deck in the format. A Duelist of the Mind goes incredibly hard in that deck with Raffine. So if you're playing Esper midrange, go grab yourself a few copies of Duelist of the Mind. But also if you're playing Dimir Proft, which is also one of my favorite decks, this card is really good in that type of deck as well. Duelist of Mind got about like, I think 97 copies got played at the Pro Tour, which is incredibly high, makes it like in the top 5 of Thunder Junction cards that got played in the Pro Tour. So yep, Duelist of Mind in Esper midrange, go grab yourself a few copies. At number 3, I have the Simulacrum Synthesizer, a 3-mana artifact from Big Score. And when a Synthesizer enters the battlefield, you scry 2. Whenever another artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. This card is an easy 4-off in basically the Izzet artifact decks that you're seeing and the Azorius artifact decks that you're seeing. Now, I haven't really played much with the card, and to be honest, like, it doesn't even... I mean, it reads impressive to me, and I'm pretty sure in, like, whatever deck that it gets thrown in, it absolutely just, like, dominates. But, I don't know, like, I felt personally that number 3 was a bit too high, but for this video, like, I've asked around in Discord, Twitter, basically, like, wherever on the stream, like, what card from Thunder Junction would you recommend people to craft? And nearly everybody kept bringing up the Synthesizer. So that's why I've ranked it super high. I don't think it got super represented in the Pro Tour, but I know that the card is also seeing a ton of play in like older formats as well. Like I'm pretty sure it gets played in like Modern Affinity at the moment. So I am seeing a bright future ahead for the Synthesizer. And yeah, any deck that plays this card and is kind of like built around it, it definitely like hard carries in there. But I don't know how good exactly those decks will be, but if that sounds good to you, go grab yourself 4 copies of the Synthesizer and let it carry you to however much of a higher rank you want to achieve. I don't know. But yeah, people are super hyped on this card, and that's why I have it at number 3. Coming in at number 2, and a lot of you have seen this one coming. Like, I know there's people watching this and be like, all right, where's the Slickshot at? Well, here it is, guys. The Slickshot Show-off in second place. A 2-mana bird wizard creature with flying and haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the Slickshot Show-off gets +2/+0 until the end of turn. You can also plot the card for 2, which means that you can pay 2 and exile the card. You can then cast it as a sorcery on the later turn without paying its mana cost. And this is probably the best aggro creature that's got printed in recent times. Mono red aggro plays this. Gruul aggro plays this. I've seen it in like Temur Prowess, Boros aggro. I mean, basically, if you are playing a red aggro deck that plays a few instants or sorceries, ideally more than that, you want to play the Slickshot Show-off. And for the people that play against the card, grab your removal, because you need to remove this card or you will die to it in the next turn, if not the turn after that. Like, this thing goes crazy with cards like Monstrous Rage, Audacity, Ancestral Anger. I mean, basically like anything, even burn spells, like a Lightning Strike to the face to get an additional like 2 power on top of it. Slickshot Show-off is insane, and I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video, there have been moments where you have been bullied by this thing on the ladder. Like, I've even seen people go as far as to put Twin Furnos in their deck so they can give this thing double strike. I mean, it's getting a little bit out of hand, and Slickshot is definitely going to stick around for... I can just see it like as long as the card rotates, it will see play, I'm pretty sure. So Slickshot Show-off, absolutely probably one of the safest crafts that you can make in the current format in Standard if you are playing red aggro decks. All right, and at number 1, and I hate to be cliche here, but you know, we do like to be as honest and truthful as we can be over here on this channel. We have the new fast lands, and most specifically Inspiring Vantage, Concealed Courtyard, and Blooming Marsh. There is literally no safer thing to craft on MTG Arena than lands, especially like the good lands. Like, we're not talking about Thram Portal. You want to grab the good lands, and the fast lands are going to be around for a while, and they're just incredible, right? Like, if you are in Boros, then you definitely want to grab 4 copies of Inspiring Vantage. If you're in Golgari, grab yourself 4 copies of Blooming Marsh. And if you are in Esper, go grab yourself 4 copies of Concealed Courtyard. And the quality of your deck will improve significantly. Like, the lands will always be an incredible safe craft. So, yep. I will always like recommend people that are like, I'm not sure what to like do with my wild cards. Grab some lands. Like, it will always make sure that your deck plays a lot better no matter what you do. So, yep, gotta end on the cliche note here, but the fast lands are absolutely like the best craft in from Thunder Junction for sure. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments as well if you agree with my tier list. Like, I'm sure some of you guys would rather see some cards like shuffled around, but you know, let me know. And also if I'm missing out on something, like if there's a card you say, Ash, why is this not in here? Let me know as well. For now, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.